in terms of resources, quality of resources, because resources like the activities is also part of the work, is a part of the work that will comprise of the final product. You see, so we cannot just ignore resources as well. So resources also have their own QA, you see, their own QA system attached to them. So machineries have the machinery systems, the material has the material systems, the workmanship have the workmanship system. It's just that the workmanship, when you specify that this work must be carried out in this way, how is the worker being checked, or how are they being trained, or will they be trained? And if they're trained, if the work comes out, do you do random checking or do you do visual inspections? And if it doesn't meet the minimum standards, what do you do with this particular section that this worker actually completed? Yeah, so workmanship, labor, workmanship, resources, they have their own quality assurance. You can create, they have their own respective quality assurance systems, but you can create them, you see. There is actually, honestly, there is no one system that you can plug in and you fill in the blanks and then it makes it your system. These are all being, in terms of project quality management, this is what I'm talking about here, for the past 2 classes, it is actually about creating your own project systems. Planning, you have your own PQP. In your planning, you also have your own checking systems, and combining it. This is actually your QA system. So your QA systems it is multifunctional, meaning that you'll be looking at, like I said, the activities, the work, the resources, the many aspects, it can be used in many aspects. And most of it is we want to make sure that, the quality glitches meaning that the problems will be avoided. So mainly a good system is we want to catch it before it happens. Okay, so spend some time, spend some effort on it to catch it before it happens. So then the other component is a lot of data collection, and then a lot of criteria designing, and then the most important thing is what we're coming up now is part of the quality assurance is quality monitoring. Okay, quality monitoring is not, it's actually part of quality assurance actually. And it really talks about how do you collect data. And many times in terms of quality problem, it doesn't sort of like came up to you and say that this is a quality issues. It can happen in 1 or 2 cases and then it stopped happening for many, many months and it doesn't happen, you see. So then it's only a one-off thing. But there are many circumstances that it is actually it's actually a recurring thing that happens again and again, and we didn't realize that it is a recurring thing. So the issue now is audit is very important. So it is a procedures that you need to do in order to look into how to get data, for example, data collection. And then first of all, you must know your acceptance criteria and all that. You've already planned that. And then so a good system is you will need to be very consistent, very disciplined in data collection, meaning that your supervisors, your engineers on site, they will have a system to maybe randomly check certain samples, or they can do visual inspection or measurement, or they can look at, basically a lot of measurement going on. I mean, for engineering, a lot of us are measurement. I mean, either by very high-tech machine or just by a piece of ruler or clippers or whatever, it's all about measurement normally. So when we look at all this measurement, thickness, coverage, and signal strength, all these sort of things are basically measurement. So when we know what we want to measure and how frequently are you taking this measurement, it's like if you go to the hospital, and you're sick, you go to the hospital, you see that the nurses come in and they monitor you. This is monitoring. They are actually monitoring you to check your BP, maybe your sugar level, maybe your temperature. So they will come in every 2 hours. So at night you don't sleep because they come in every 2 hours, they will check, you see. So then they will write down on the board, in front of your bed, there's a board of paper, they will write down all the detail. So it's the same thing. We have to have a lot of data. So whichever work, whichever resources, when you need to collect data, you need to know when to collect data, what to collect data, what data to collect. So this is part of quality assurance. You need to know what data to collect. So it's like BP, temperature. So the doctor will tell you that you need to collect temperature and BP of this particular patient. So then you go and do it. You see, so then you need to specify. Otherwise, you don't expect people to know. You see. So then when they collect this data for work, maybe for pressure, for water, it could be for pressure, checking on the pressure every hour, signal strength every hour for telecommunication systems, and manage to look at the height of the water, the level of water every 30 minutes, or the road, the thickness, of the road, or the bore log, you need to collect it for 5-6 points, distance between points and all that. So you see, we need to specify, okay? We need to specify some data, what data to collect. And then after that, how frequently to collect the data, and then how to compile the data, and who will actually how will actually study the data later. So when we have a good audit systems, we will make sure that these data are being compiled nicely into maybe tables, pie charts, or histograms, or even just an Excel worksheets of some sort. So then, in this quality auditing process, we will look at all this data. We will frequently look at all this data, maybe once a month, once a week. And then once we go through this data, we will detect whether there is problems and do we need to take any corrective action. This is the doctor says that, it looks like this patient, the temperature will spike, around evening time and around early in the morning. So we need to watch out for his BP. That could be the reason. You may want to search for it. These are the spikes, isn't it? So again, also because you monitor, you will see if there's any out of the control kind of points, you see. And with this out of the control, out of the medium line, out of the general statistic, there will be sometimes some points that is completely out, you see. So when it's completely out, what do you do about that? See? And that will bring us to the next stage of quality checking. So audit can be done internally, by our own people. And usually that will be the first layer. You get another colleague or another team to audit. Then it will be, sometimes it can be audited by another organization that is related to your work, that is contracted under your company to do the auditing. And it could be carried out by independent agencies, like labs are independent agencies, some NGOs are independent agencies. Some of the consultancy, they are completely independent. Is appointed by another party to look at your data. So auditing, when it's done, we will, like internally, like I said, on site, it's probably the engineers themselves, they will audit, but then you may need to get your company organization itself will have another team of people to audit as well. Another team in your organization, that will be the second, that is actually internal. First party. The second party will be, say, you engage certain consultant to do auditing, but that is all, it could be your suppliers, or it could be your subcontractors, it could be your specialist subcontractors. They provide you with the auditing services, or you can engage separate organization. But it's engaged, isn't it? By another organization to do the auditing. So again, that kind of really neutrality, because they're under your engagement, it can be questioned. Third party usually cannot be questioned. It depends on how important it is. So sometimes we don't really need every time we must have an independent agency, because they can be very expensive. External one also can be expensive. Internal one is already quite expensive because you're setting up another team of people to look after that, look after the standards. So again, quality is an expensive effort. QA is an expensive effort. And when you hear so much, do you realize that it is really, really about discipline? It's really, really about whether your organization has that kind of will, that kind of quality will to carry it out and consistently carry it out, you see. Many of us don't have the will. Halfway through, you just give up. You just forget about it, and it's going to be all over already.